Hi-oh. Okay, good. I think we are live. Good. Very happy about that. Let me check my volume here, make sure the audio is good. Yes. Okay. And it is a bit slow. Okay. I don't hate it. It's not fantastic, but I suppose I can't complain, can I? Okay, dashboard? What is this? Okay. Just trying to make sure. Wish I had a frame drop indicator here because I don't know. Okay, let me do this. Let me pull up. Hold on. That's not what I thought I picked for the thumbnail, but okay. Very cool. Is there a share button? Hold on. I don't think there. Oh, I have to do it like this. Okay. I'm going to share the stream. Give me just a moment, y'all. We're just letting people know that we are here. Letting people know we're here. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm not super thrilled about the slowness and how awkward the model is when I try to move it. But like I said, I suppose I can't complain. I was doing something. Oh, yeah, sharing. Okay, hold on. Bear with me, y'all. I'm just letting people know we're here. We're hanging out, just testing. Testing. Do. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Wow, this does not like to share streams. I'm testing some streaming software. Okay, that'll work. So, yeah. Okay. So, this is my first time streaming on this laptop here. Story time, I guess. I actually got this laptop. It was pretty inexpensive, a little over $100. But, yeah, man, I can't really complain about it because, you know, I did not have a computer. I bought a bunch of parts for my old desktop. It's a desktop I've had for about 10 years. And it had just gotten to the point where it was so old. Essentially, what I came to find out, because I'd been buying upgrades here and there, I bought more RAM. And I bought a better graphics card. And come to find out, the bottleneck for it was the processor. So I buy a new processor. It does not like the processor. So I would have had to keep buying more parts, chasing smaller and smaller problems, eventually just rebuilding the whole thing. And I did not have the time, the money, or the skill to do that. So I bought a low to mid-range laptop, and I'm just using that. It's here. It's a laptop. I can take it with me if I need to. It works for what I need. I'm not playing the latest and greatest games. Certainly not doing so on a live stream. Because as you can see, I'm moving at like 1 frame a second over here. It's very choppy. But this is just to make sure things work. Things can be adjusted later as we familiarize ourselves with what our computer can and cannot do. I'd like to play some older games, maybe Sonic, what's that Sonic Fall Guys game? Sonic Rumble. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be taking a look at Sonic Rumble. We'll be checking that out. Could be a lot of fun. We'll see if it can run it. If not, we can just play the old games. You know, I'm sure I can grab those. Sonic the Fighters is always a lot of fun. That game has a whole competitive scene, so maybe we can get into that if you can handle it. But yeah, I'm not expecting to do any top level shit on this rig here. This is just for me to have fun with. And I wanted to give a try to streaming on my laptop here, just to kind of see what the software can do. I understand streaming is a relatively intensive setup, so, and I might have to adjust my model. Hold on. I think I need to fix the sensitivity. Okay, hopefully that is better. Okay, so my camera is over to the left of me. The monitor I'm using for the stream is an external monitor over on the right. So to actually look at the monitor, I have to kind of turn my head away from the camera. And that's why the model goes kind of... So that's what's going on there. And like I said, this whole setup will be improved with time. I want to get into streaming again, especially for this channel here. I run a couple channels, but for this channel in particular, because I want to really give it a push, and streaming is actually great for watch time. My long form videos aren't super long at all. I have some speed builds that are like 4 or 5 minutes each. They do well. I had that Toys R Us video. They do well, but they're not doing well enough to get the watch time I'd like. So I'd like to kind of supplement that with live streams, experiment with this kind of content, and see what I can make with you guys, and hopefully interact with y'all directly. I think that could be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's what we're working on here. I'm glad I tested everything. Yeah, so we're just going to be kind of hanging out here. Let me see. We'll be hanging out here for a little bit. I might open up YouTube and have us watch some videos, just to kind of see what we can get away with in terms of like the processor and stuff, what it's going to look like for you guys on stream, what it's going to sound like. I want to make sure the audio is good. We did some reactions to things like Sonic Boom and the chaotic detective radio drama, audio drama, whatever. I'd like to get back into that, especially on a live stream format. That can be a lot of fun. But yeah, so everything seems to work good. If you're curious, I am using Streamlabs for this. I was going to use OBS, but I wanted to use Streamlabs because it is much more user-friendly in terms of its user interface. And it saved my Sonic-themed overlay here that you're seeing. It brought it back for me, which was so cool. I love it. I'm so thrilled about that. It saved me so much time having to track it down again. Oh man. So yeah, that's always a win. I want to get a more different kind of Sonic theming. I love the classic stuff. Everyone loves classic Sonic, but I want to look into other options. I might commission somebody to do something later on down the line once this becomes kind of a regular thing and we kind of get a handle on what we can and can't do here on the show. So I think that has the potential to be a lot of fun. But yeah, let me just make sure the comments work. Blah, blah, blah. Let me just post here. Okay, I see it. Am I showing up on screen though? I'm not seeing it show up on screen though. Okay. Interesting. Then you get to disappear. Okay, are you showing up here? Well, it might just be delayed because I know this whole setup is super slow. It is very much less than ideal. Hold on. What is it doing? This is why we're doing this. Working out the bugs, everybody. Yeah, so up there it goes. Okay. I'm still not seeing it. What am I not seeing? Because I see it over off to the side in my OBS. I see the chat. I have it up here on my phone. I see it on my phone. I'm not seeing it on the screen with the chat box, which is what you're seeing. I'm not seeing that message. So this is why we're doing this. Work out these little bugs. Okay, well then you know what? You can get out. We don't need you here. So yeah, we'll have to work on that for next time. That's cool. We will tweak a lot of this. A lot of this was just me making sure the setup functions. I am going to be streaming to YouTube as opposed to Twitch. Twitch is great. They have an amazing... they're optimized for streaming because that's what you do. But my community is here on YouTube. I am here on YouTube. All of my content is here on YouTube. And YouTube will save the VOD and post it as a video as opposed to Twitch, which will just chuck it in a couple days. So we are sticking with YouTube for the time being. For the foreseeable. Let me see here. And this is just going to be hanging out with me. Just tweaking things here and there. Let's actually see if I can pull something up on YouTube. Hang on. Bear with me here, guys. And I would have hooked up my proper web. I'm using the built-in webcam on the laptop here. I want to use my webcam, but I have very limited USB slots on my laptop. I have a USB bus. I don't know how reliable that bus is. I may have to try it so I can plug in my controller also if we want to start playing games here. That'll be something I'll test next time, absolutely. But for right now, I'm just making sure we got the basics covered. Bear with me here. I'm going to pull something up for us to watch. Hold on. There we go. We'll check that out. It's a video by Wes Toons about Sonic the Fighters. Big fan of that game, like I said. I actually got into it. There's a couple videos of it on the channel you can check out. I got good with Amy, or I learned to use Amy. I don't know how good I really am, but it's a lot of fun. I love the cartoony physics. So we are gonna go ahead and add a source here. Hold on. I'm gonna do a window capture. YouTube. Ba, 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 ba. Thank you. Where am I? There I am. Hello. Okay, good. So give me a minute. Let me work on this. No. No. I'm trying to find the correct background, y'all. Bear with me. Definitely not. No. There it is. Okay. So let me get out of here. Let me grab this and finagle it a little bit. I'm going to take me and nope. Oh, hold on. Where am I? There I am. Ah, okay, good. I'm going to put me here. Okay, a little bit. I'm gonna have to finagle this a little bit, so y'all need to bear with me. This is a learning process. We're learning, like Super Nintendo Chalmers. And I don't know what it is. This laptop isn't very responsive. Could be the fact that it's older than dirt, but it's what I can afford, y'all. What do you want me to do? Okay. Hey, man, let's live stream and talk to ourselves for an hour. Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah. Talking to myself. All right. We'll make sure everything works. Do. Make sure everything sounds good. Do. Why is the screen here in this overlay such a weird aspect ratio? Okay. I'm going to shrink a little bit. Hold on. Okay. You quit playing with myself. I hear that's bad for you. Okay. So, we got that. That looks good. I'm going to pull this up. We're going to watch Sonic the Fighters is surprisingly complex. Oh, my microphone's unmuted. Well, I should hope so. Hold on. Oh, has no signal. Well, that's not a good. Can y'all hear me okay? Apparently my microphone is muted and has no signal. I have no idea. Okay, so it sounds like it sounds okay, it sounds. I can't hear my mic, but it looks okay. So I'm going to go ahead and assume, like an idiot, that everything's okay. Despite the fact that my frame rate is dropping like a fly. 22 frames per second. It's experiencing issues. Stream is good. Okay, using quite a bit of my CPU. Okay. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Alright, we're going to give it a shot. Here we go. I'm going to have to lower the quality. So you guys are just going to have to enjoy the crunchy pixels. Oh, that's responsive. I love that. Oh, good. Okay.
Sonic the Fighters is on its way to Combo Breaker 2024, and later this year, CEO 2024, where dozens of players will be duking it out in what might be the biggest tournaments the game has ever seen. And that's awesome.
I'm turning on subtitles, y'all. Give me a minute.
Players can start engaging in the back and forth, meat and potatoes elements of it rather quickly. But that said, there's a lot going on under the hood in this game that is less well understood than in many other games, especially for newer players. Ever since this past December, I've been playing this game a lot, and in that time, I've gotten a lot better at it. And I've also seen a lot of other new players take up the game and run into the same issues over and over. With that in mind, I thought I would shine a light at some of the intricacies of this game that often serve as obstacles for players hoping to improve at it. So first off, let's just get over the basics. This is a 3-button game, those buttons being punch, kick, and block. Although most modern setups for the game will also allow you to bind other buttons as macros. This game is a 3D fighter in the vein of...
And I'm going to pause and comment as we go here. Yeah, so this, if you didn't know, Sonic the Fighters was I want to say it was a 5th generation fighting game. So around the time of the Saturn, the PlayStation, and all that. And it runs off of a very heavily modified engine that Virtua Fighters used in the arcades over in Japan. It never came to the States, but eventually, long after, it found its way here in things like digital game purchases and some like best of collections for Sonic, like compilation games. It's very hard to find those, but yeah, now the game picked up a competitive scene during that wonderful time in the 2020s we all had. But yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. It has toon physics and it's very, very fun. And Amy has a sledgehammer, so that was enough for me.
Virtual Fighter and Fighting Vipers with standard fighting game options like short hopping and full jumping, dashing forward and backwards, throws, and motion inputs. This video will go over some character-specific strategies, but will mostly be a non-comprehensive mechanical overview, focusing on some of the less intuitive aspects of the game that can trip up new and experienced players. Also, if you do want to play other people in this game, this video will link the SDF Discord and videos on how to set the game up on the RPCS3 PS3 emulator, which is currently the game's most popular platform.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft.
We're gonna watch the ads, guys. We gotta help him out and let him make his money.
When you search on Bing, play on Xbox, and use other Microsoft products.
I'm gonna check here. What kind of frames am I skipping? 68% of my frames. Oh God. Okay. This is why we test it.
So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about Sonic the Fighters. And to start off, let's talk about how the game handles blocking. When it comes to something like blocking, to the unseasoned player, Sonic the Fighters can feel a little bit like the midpoint of something like Smash and something like Virtua Fighter. Like in both of those games, blocking in SDF is not done by holding back, but instead by using a dedicated button input. Press this button to put up what the game calls a barrier. Sonic the Fighter's barriers in general will protect you from just about anything that comes your way, and can be deployed very quickly. That said, they do carry a downside. Like in most fighting games, you can get grabbed out of block in SDF, but barriers...
I'm gonna have to lower the quality, guys. Just you're gonna have to deal with it because we're dropping frames here. So have fun squinting through the pixels.
In the default rule set of Sonic the Fire, players begin a match with access to 5 barriers that do not regenerate between rounds. Run out of barriers and you will lose the ability to block altogether. So how do we avoid this? Unlike Smash's shield break mechanic, barriers are broken only by specific moves. Oftentimes these moves will be jab string enders, spin dashes, moves with longer startup, and any and all throws. It makes sense to not block these moves and instead dodge them if possible. Although moves that do break barriers often will leave the attacking player at a frame disadvantage, meaning that depending on the circumstances, blocking a move that breaks your barrier could still be worth it. Games in STF go fast, so it makes sense to use the resources that you're allotted. That said, defending is only one of the things you can do with your barrier. By holding back while pressing punch and kick together, players can sacrifice a barrier to enter hyper mode, the closest thing STF has to a fighting game super. For a short period of time, hyper mode allows you to near instantly chain moves into each other, as if your character was a tape being fast forwarded. While in hyper mode, players can do something that's rare in regular gameplay: combo, with many of the flashiest clips to come out of the game being custom-built hyper mode sequences. Players in hyper mode cannot break barriers, but if a player does try to block an opponent's hyper combo, they'll usually find themselves stuck in their block, unable to move and vulnerable to throws. When they're not pulling off silly custom combos, players in hyper mode can also use some exclusive moves like Sonic's Emerald Dive and Beam Espio's Warp, or use amped up versions of existing moves like Amy's 16-ton variant of Heads Up. Damage dealt while in hyper mode is reduced pretty significantly, and also does not have catch-up damage scaling, but players can work around that a bit by ending their hyper mode strings with hard-hitting moves or throws. Ending your combo with a link into a throw will help ensure that the last hit of your sequence will happen after hyper mode and its included damage nerf has expired. Using hyper mode then is what more aggressive players may find themselves choosing to do with their barriers rather than blocking, as movement options and sidesteps are often strong enough in this game to do what barriers do anyway. For beginner players, running out of barriers can often spell their doom, but some of the game's more experienced players will deliberately throw them away. Why? 2 words: non-hyper, hyper-start. Hyper-start, the move that players use to initiate hyper mode, is more than just a little animation. It is actually an attack, and not a bad one, launching opponents and coming out on frame 11. For many characters, it's their fastest front-facing normal, although its range is very small. Using it in hyper mode, it can be a nice move to throw into your combos, but the move is arguably at its most useful when the player using it is out of barriers. When out of barriers, players get to use non-hyper hyper-start, which is the same move, but used without being in hyper mode. And for some characters, depending on who they're fighting, throwing away barriers to have access to this move is worth it. Non-hyper hyper-start is a great option when you need to have a hitbox out as soon as possible, say after hitting someone's barrier, or just in a scrappy situation. If your opponent blocks it, it can break barriers while also having pretty low recovery time. In certain spots, it will also link into itself, and its damage output isn't bad either. For Tails, Honey, and Bean, the move is just a little bit more useful because due to the shape of these characters' heads of all things, the move tends to have a little bit more range to it. With Honey in particular being a character who can live and die by her sidestep and only needs to block on special occasions, throwing away barriers in order to sooner access her non-hyper hyper-start is a totally legitimate strategy. That said, as a beginner, don't be afraid to block. Often throwing out your barrier in the middle of getting hit by your opponent's punch or kick strings will allow you to turn a situation around and in your favor. Just remember that, like in most fighting games, your blocks can still be wrecked with throws, and in addition, know that due to the power of air teching in this game, some moves can actually be safer on block than they are on hit. That should cover the basics of barrier management in Sonic the Fighters, but the real STF freaks in the audience should know that you don't actually have to be grounded to use Hyperstart. Activated by holding Alt in midair while pressing P and K, Air Hyperstart both activates hyper mode and has a hitbox on the way down. The non-hyper variant of this move is really good too, and can set up juggles, with top players often jumping with air kicks on the way up and Air Hyperstart on the way down.
So I'm trying to just make sure, because I know I'm skipping frames here. I'm just trying to see what this setup can do in terms of my hardware and the software and the sound and the quality. Now, if that means here in a little bit, I'll need, obviously we're going to adjust this to help it perform better in future streams. More than likely, that means I'm going to be using a PNG version of this model, because PNG tubers models aren't as heavy on resources as proper live 2D models. So if I'm doing something like watching a video or playing a game, I'm probably either going to be using a still image, whoa, or oh, why is it doing that? Oh, don't do that. Using a still image or PNG tuber. Oh, why does it do that? Sometimes, like, I know you probably don't see it. I hope you don't. Sometimes on the ads, it'll blink really fast and flash and be all up in my face with the bad. Oh, okay, so we're going to watch this ad. But yeah, it gives me an excuse to yap at y'all for a little bit. We are skipping frames. Let me see how bad it is. I think we were looking at 60 some odd percent. Oh, 87% now. Yay, new record. Let me check. Okay, so we're using the encoder for the software. Last time we tried to play around with our encoder, the stream wouldn't start. Yay! So we'll have to play around with that in the future and see what we can get away with. And I know I said we watched the ads, but this is kind of silly. It's a whole thing. Get out of here. It's not what we're here for.
Even if they still have barriers, characters will only be able to use a non-hyper version of Hyperstart when this happens until the cooldown period for entering hyper mode ends. Okay, now that you know about barriers, let me tell you about sidesteps. In September of 1996, around 3 months after the release of...
I swear to God, with fighting games, when I played growing up, I would never block. Which is not at all how I actually fight. I've done a little bit of martial arts. And I'm not any kind of, skilled fighter. But I've sparred enough to, to be confident and have confidence that I know what I'm doing. I am a very defensive fighter. If I can't get you right away, I'm going to block everything and try to stay away from you.
Use the input on its own to move in the direction of your character's back foot. Use the input while holding forward to sidestep in the direction of your character's front foot. Out of a sidestep, players can use sidestep punches, which are sometimes just the first hit of a character's jab string, and sometimes are bespoke moves. Players can also kick out of a sidestep, usually with a move that is known as skip kick. Hold up while pressing punch to do a body dive. And out of an initial sidestep, players can input a second sidestep. Attempting to input a third sidestep in a row will result in a player being forced to sidestep punch. In order to truly make the most out of their sidesteps, players should really focus on using the forward pressing form of the move, which infamously has invincibility frames that can allow players to dodge things that, frankly, their characters have no business dodging.
Oh, no, that's bullshit.
Roughly, when a player inputs an initial sidestep, the game will check if an attack or grab has been input by their opponent. And if so, the game gives the sidestepping player the technique's dodging variant. On all of the game's legal characters, these dodging sidesteps offer 12 invincibility frames when used while pressing forward. Full dodging sidesteps, in addition, will go further and give the dodging player...
Yeah, so this game is way more technical than people give it credit for, and I'm glad people are finally getting into it.
Holding forward sidesteps are the ones that will...
Because, like, I sat down and played it for the first time a couple of years ago. So much fun.
And that your sidesteps are stronger if your opponent is attempting to attack when you use them. With all this said, what do you do after sidestepping? For now, let's focus on sidestep punches, which, as stated earlier, are sometimes bespoke moves and sometimes standard standing punches. Of the characters whose sidestep punches are their own unique moves, some, like Sonic's, which allows him to hit opponents from across the stage with a quicker version of his spin dash, are extremely strong and can break barriers. Others can be used to help characters get around things they might otherwise struggle with. Beam's projectiles are easy to block, but his sidestep punch will break barriers. Bark's sidestep punch has the same effect as his 2P, putting his opponent into what the community likes to call wimpy mode, a squashed form where players can only move forward, backwards, jump, and attack.
Oh, yeah.
3 seconds.
Like you've been flattened in a cartoon.
But arguably, the best sidestep punches in Sonic the Fighters are also the least unique ones. Honey, Knuckles, and Tails can use Sidestep P to simply use their regular standing punches. And for these characters, attacking out of Sidestep can set up some of their favorite positions, as after they use their initial punch, they can also execute a punch string, or if they're feeling frisky, punch kick. Punch kick is perhaps the strongest two-move string in the game, a fast link with a second hit that has both a surprising amount of tracking and damage scaling with catch-up. It also forces opponents into one of the game's most difficult tech situations. Hit a punch kick in the corner and your opponent will collide against the wall in a way that often sets up high damage air kicks. Use it against a blocking opponent and you'll be safe enough to sidestep away before your opponent can hit you back. If your opponent dodges the punch, oftentimes they'll still get hit by the kick. Combine this technique with Knuckles and Honey's elongated forward lunging sidesteps, and their incredible offensive game reveals itself quickly. Tails, with his stubby stature and more ordinary sidesteps, will have to at least close space first before his PKs can really be used. But once he does, he's a menace. Sidestep punch kick is not only good, it's also pretty easy to pull off. And once players get the rhythm down, Honey and Knuckles mirror matches will often devolve simply into punch kick versus punch kick.
Awesome.
With all that said, Sonic the Fighters is a game where you will have to play neutral. And even if sidestep punch kick spam can carry you through many matches, you probably should learn to do other things out of sidestep too. Sidestep kicks are, for the majority of characters, the universal move skip kick. Again,
I don't know why it does that.
against opponents who are spamming
There
skip
you go.
dashes, this move is most likely the easiest way to counter them. By pressing kick a second time after skip kicking, you can also extend the move into a second skip kick. This can work well to punish opponents who are blocking, trying to grab or hit you after your first skip kick collides with their barrier. On the other hand, if your opponent is expecting you to use two skip kicks and punish afterwards, you can try using one skip kick and throwing them before they're able to react. The other attack players can use out of sidestep is the body splash. These moves are a bit more risky, although they can close space very well. They do tend to be unsafe on hit, especially if tech, so save their use for situations where you know they'll be worth using. While all of these options can be input midway into your sidestep, sometimes it might be better to hold off and wait until your sidestep ends and your character becomes stationary to act. This can be especially true if you did input your sidestep while your opponent was using an attack or throw, as the dodging variant of your sidestep also has a quicker animation. It can open up options once your sidestep ends, like throws, regular jumps, dashes, and more, that might end up having more utility than a sidestep punch or skip kick. That's a basic overview of how you can utilize sidesteps as a tool, but what's the best way to contest them? That can be a difficult question, especially against some characters. But remember that the same things that make sidestep strong against opponents in pre-attacks can also be used to contest them. By deliberately delaying strikes or throws, you can catch a preemptive sidestep by not allowing your opponent to have access to the technique's dodging variant. Command grabs like Foot Crush can work well here, with the command inputs helping stagger the input of your throw ever so slightly behind your opponent's sidestep input. With sidesteps overtuned as they are, however, you might also just want to fight fire with fire. By delaying your own sidestep, you can potentially catch your opponent's aggressive out-of-sidestep options and dodge them while getting a free neutral win of your own. Using basic movement options without attacking can also bait out a sidestep. If you jump out of the way of a punch kick, for example, you can use the lingering nature of the kick to give yourself a free dodging sidestep and counter it. Whether or not you can dodge a sidestep attack, or what method you should dodge them in, of course, may differ. Short hopping away from punch kick might make sense in
Alright, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out of the video here. Alright, and this is Wustunes. He does, like I said, he does stuff for Sonic the Fighters. Definitely check him out. As you can see here, there's so much technique in this game. If you get good at it, you can do some amazing things. So, yes, please check him out. Give him his flowers. The dude's amazing. And he breaks it down and makes you really want to play the game. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably have to put this game back on my computer and see if I can run it. Next time, what I plan on doing here to hopefully get this to run a little bit better with fewer skip frames, I'm going to play around with the encoder when I have time, see what I can get away with. I'm also going to set up my PNG tuber model instead of my VTuber model, just because, again, it's less resource intensive. Between that and the encoder and some other fixes I plan on working on, smaller tweaks here and there, what I'm hoping is that it will perform much better with fewer skipped frames, because we are skipping crazy frames right now. So, like I said, I'm not doing high-level stuff on this at all. Streaming is just going to be something for me to kind of play around with on the side, in addition to the content I already make for you guys. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. Definitely, like I said, definitely go check WusTunes out. He is fantastic. I love him. He's great. Tell him I said hi. Yeah, man. We are looking at that. Also, if you wanted to check out Sonic the Fighters, like officially, like buy the game for real, it is super duper cheap. I think it's like $5, $5, 10, $15 on Xbox. You can buy it digitally and play it on the Xbox Online. Pretty sure it has online play. Don't quote me on that. Or you can emulate it. Like there's a way to set it up. He'll walk you through it. Basically, you're setting it up on a PS3 emulator on a computer, and I don't think this computer would run that very well. So, but I'll figure out a way to do it. We'll do something here. It'll be fun. Like I said, usually we just play older games. I want to see if I can run the Sonic Rumble. I'll have to boot that up on my own time and just kind of make sure it runs okay. Tweak the settings if I have to. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and play around with the streaming software, make sure everything is working first go, see what I needed to tweak, see what I needed to fix, and I'll make those adjustments, and hopefully we'll be doing this again next week. I know I've been kind of touch and go about streaming, and that's why it requires such a fine-tuned setup to perform well, especially on older computers. You have to really beg, borrow, and steal whatever you can to make it work. But we'll figure something out. We'll make this work because, like I said, streaming is usually pretty good for watch time, and that's what I'm trying to get to really push this channel on to the next phase of its existence. That being said, before I do let you guys go, just if you're here and if you're still watching, we do have a Patreon. We did just launch it earlier this morning, so big deal there. It's only $1 a month, guys, and it gets you access to community Discord. It gets you early access to videos I make, as well as a shout out in our long form videos and streams like this. But beyond that, that's pretty much all I had. I usually don't stream for very long. I stream for like an hour, sometimes a little bit less, because, like I said, streaming isn't the main thing that I do. Because I publish videos a couple times a week, so between that and the streaming, I'm going to be active on this channel all the gosh darn time. We're always going to be doing something over here, and we're going to be having a good time. So I hope you join us. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you had a good time. I'm sorry about the scuff. That's something we're going to have to kind of work around in the future, and I'm hoping it will get better. But beyond that, thanks for stopping in, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.